education, where would you start? And you just want to, if you're just scanning the picture, what would you want to look for? What would be red flags for problems or issues?
Well, could be kind of two different problems coming at you. One could be that the child really is actually truly struggling and has an issue, but the teacher could have an issue too. And so you have to really listen with your heart and your mind at what's going on. If you continually are getting notes sent home from a teacher saying, you know, Johnny can't pay attention, or, you know, Jennifer's having trouble, I think she's ADHD, or, you know, you get anything like that. But you observe, you know your child better than the teacher does, but you have to be gut level honest with yourself about where your child really is at. And
even if that means admitting something hard.
That's exactly right. And
That's
sometimes
hard.
That means admitting that there's something going on that you can't deal with by yourself. And that's okay. I had a friend who told me one time that some children are just octopus children, and they need 8 arms to help deal with all the stuff that happens in their lives and goes on. And that is really wise as a parent to know that you need other people.
Okay,
to
and
help.
That's not communicating that you're a failure as a parent.
Exactly.
And I think we actually do have to take a break right now. And when we come back, we're going to continue talking about this. I'm excited to learn some more, and I hope you guys are too. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back to the single parent.
The splendor of a king, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Single Parent. We have Susan Patterson here, my mother, and we're talking about being an advocate for your children in education and how you can do that even with the time constraints that a single parent does have. Before the break, we were just wrapping up talking about our responsibility as parents to be an example of loving to learn, having facilitating an environment in the home where they can learn, do their homework, and keeping their children accountable and the teacher accountable through connecting with them, the child and the teacher, and just being a presence, even if it's just through emails, notes, and phone calls. Now that we've kind of established a kind of a standard, so what happens when there's not a standard or normal situation, when there's problems that pop up? Where do we go from there? Because that can be very overwhelming. You can feel like, oh, I mean, you can feel so many different things. Where do we start?
Okay. First thing you need to really realize is that there's not a quick fix if there's real issues going on.
Okay.
That it's going to take time, and it's going to take time to figure out exactly what is going on and what needs to happen to help the child.
Okay.
And so I don't really advocate for running right away to like testing a child to see if there's learning disabilities. I am more of an advocate for there being different interventions done within the classroom that are supported by the parent. You know, things like tracking the day. If it's behavior kinds of issues, tracking your day through a behavior log at school, so you can identify, okay, when are the issues really showing up? Is there a pattern? You know, is it always this way right before lunch, and then it's not that way in the morning and afternoon? You know, maybe it's a physical, maybe blood sugar issue, or you know. So you want to look at those kinds of things first.
So how would you go about getting something like that in place?
Well, you ask the teacher. You talk to the teacher and say, listen, I'm really concerned about the kind of logs I'm getting back home, behavioral logs, or the comments that are coming back home about what's going on with my child, or the work that's coming home, or lack of, and say you really want to figure out what's going on. You know this isn't the way it is typical,
right?
And so we need to figure out what's going on. And you'd like to have some type of behavior log where the child is tracked and gets sent home. I mean, sometimes teachers are really receptive to that, and sometimes they'll go, oh yeah, I'm already doing that, I'm just not sending it home. Or in one instance, for one of my grandchildren, I like drew out a log and handed it to his teacher and said, here, we need something like this so we can figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Because the teacher, you know, wasn't
just
understanding quite what was needed, and so that we could figure out.
Now, what if a teacher is just not willing to do it, doesn't want to do it? What are parents' rights, and what by law can we expect a teacher to do? I mean, one thing I've learned talking to more and more parents is that most parents do not realize what their rights are, what they are entitled to expect from a teacher.
That's true. If you're not getting a response for the teacher, go to the principal.
Okay.
And go with the evidence. I've, you know, done this, I've said this, I definitely have gone to the teacher, and nothing is changing.
Okay.
If you do not get a response from that principal, I'm not saying you don't hear, you're not getting what you wanted to hear, but if you don't get a response or they're not going to deal with you, then you call, in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, you call the learning community office, because all the schools are divided into learning communities. So follow the chain of command.
Okay.
And
eventually you'll get a response.
Eventually you will get somebody. It shouldn't have to be that way, but if it is,
right,
don't be afraid.
Okay.
I know there were times when I was like, oh, do I confront this person at the school or not? Or is it going to make it worse? Is it going to make it better?
Right.
And there are things that I probably would have done differently, especially during junior high, because that is such a hard age. But just your kid needs to know that you're for them, no matter what is going on. You're for them.
That's huge, because I remember when I was in middle school, and I did get in quite a bit of trouble, but there were some times that I really didn't do some things, and it totally rocked my world that you stood up for me. And there was this one situation that was a pretty horrible situation, and you went to bat for me, and it was awesome. I mean, I will always remember that. It gave me so much confidence, and that, man, my mom's for me, and that does something so huge for a child's spirit, for their just, man, my mom, she has got my back. That is huge, 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 huge. I can't even expound on how huge that is enough. It is so amazing, just the little things that us as parents can do that just, man, really, really affect our kids, both for the positive and the negative.
And so it's really important, though, when you have your child's back, or your child knows that you stand for them, that you're not blind to the reality of what's going on.
Can you give us some tips to help us take a personal inventory, if you will, about how to know that you're not blind, or what can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, if there is issues going on with your child's behavior at school, and they're true issues, they're going on at home at some level, and you need to be willing to admit that and not count yourself as a failure because there are issues. Because I don't think any of us as parents set out to say, oh, I'm going to do things all wrong so my kid gets all goofed up.
Right.
You know, everybody is doing the very best they know how to do at this time with the tools that they have.
Okay.
And so, you know, you can still have your child's back. You can still be for your child and hold your child accountable for things when they do, like goof up.
Right.
And so be really open to seeing what's really going on. Don't be afraid to ask somebody that you know well and that knows your family, somebody who you trust. Ask them for their honest opinion. What do you think? And
it's a good litmus test.
Right. And, you know, don't be afraid to engage with other resources. Sometimes schools have counselors or social workers